Now, Vladimir Putin is evidently a man conscious of image. From military pomp and circumstance to his big white table, choreographed pictures and videos of his sporting prowess and outdoorsmanship, gunslinging and bare-chested on horseback. From army fatigues to sharp suits, high-fiving sports stars and hugging children. Every last detail curated and controlled, underscored by a draconian crackdown on media and extreme censorship. The West's portrayal of Putin has been similarly legendary. Voted Time magazine's Person of the Year and Forbes' most powerful man more than any individual in history, world leaders that rushed to glad hand Russia's modern czar now decry his gangster kleptocracy. So how has the West's perception of Russia changed over the years, and how much of that is down to Putin's personal portrayal? Well, who better to understand how Putin has been received and portrayed in the West than one of our very own experts, GBNews presenter Alastair Stewart, and of course, veteran ITN presenter at many of the key historic moments of the last few decades, including the fall of the Berlin Wall. Alastair, it's fair to say that in your career, you have indeed tracked a lot of Vladimir Putin's career. What are your main take-homes of how Russia's relationship with the West has changed and where we find ourselves in our relationship with Putin today?
They started off with a massive cock-up, and that was when Gorbachev, who came in 85 and then saw the Berlin Wall fall and did not intervene, crucially. That was the turning point in East-West relations. And Gorbachev then went to George Bush Sr. and Margaret Thatcher seeking financial aid to prop up his regime. At that point, Putin was a junior-ranking KGB guy, but watching it all either from Dresden or from Moscow. Thatcher said, no money unless you really reform. So Gorbachev then turned to these bright young men who were prepared to buy from him at a massive discount Russia's great wealth. They were the oligarchs. When Gorby fell and Yeltsin came in, Yeltsin was broke, Russia was broke, it accelerated. At this point, Putin was in there, in the mix, rising through the ranks of the Communist Party, never a communist, always a man interested in Mother Russia and in money. He learnt his trade, he took over from Yeltsin, and the rest, Alex, is history. For him, it's about image, as you've just brilliantly portrayed. He learned that from Gorbachev, who went walkabout in Washington. I remember reporting upon that. Russian leaders didn't tend to do that. They tended to bang their heels at the United Nations like Khrushchev. He learnt that. But he genuinely believes in Mother Russia, as Mark and Valery just said, and he genuinely believes in money. That's what this is all about. It's whether or not the oligarchs think their money is now at risk.
I mean, sticking on the theme of money, as I said, he was Forbes' Man of the Year more than anybody else in history, and he's been Times Magazine's Person of the Year as well. Do you think the West has played into his hands? Because a lot of the money he's been able to accrue and his oligarchs have been through extremely lucrative deals with the West that has now almost bound us in a Gordian knot when it comes to our energy supply, when it comes to the amount of Russian money, dirty Russian money, swilling around the City of London, when it comes to how much infrastructure, how football teams, so many things that Russian oligarchs now control. I mean, we've played into his hands.
Well, let me turn it slightly on its head, and I've been saying this on my weekend programmes now for 2 or 3 weeks. He's played the West utterly brilliantly, and it all hinges on that point that Mark just made to you towards the end of his contribution. And if you, there's a very good book by Ken Follett called Never, which is the same power play, but it's between the West and China. It's who blinks first. He doesn't believe that the man you're looking at the moment, and if you're listening on radio, it was just then Joe Biden. Now you've panned across to Putin. He doesn't believe that Biden will intervene. Remember that magic word? Oh, incursion, a minor incursion. We're looking at a bloody murderous incursion in Ukraine right now, and we're shoring up the next line of defense. As Mark just said, the next line of defense will be Moldova. Well, they've got a little bit of Russian territory in there already, and then they'll look up at the Baltics, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania. He's absolutely convinced, in my view, that he can push his luck. At some juncture, someone is going to say no, and it'll either genuinely be NATO, and Stoltenberg has played an absolute blinder, in my view, really come to the fore, or it'll be the oligarchs. And if they say, look, guys, those billions are at stake. We've already lost our apartments in Knightsbridge. We've lost our yachts that we had moored up in Germany and Samoritz and the rest of it. Not Samoritz, Saint-Tropez. If that's at stake, if we're going to lose that, he's got to go. And out he will go like that.